As we saw in the last video, the list is built out of different data structures, such as vectors, matrices, data frames, and even the lists. So getting a single element, multiple elements, or a component out of it is not always straightforward. In this video, we will look at subsetting a list. There are two different methods to access the list elements, and the result will be quite different depending on which methods you choose. The first method is to select the list elements using the numbered position of the object inside a list. So if you want to grab the third element, for example, you will type name of the list followed by the position index of list element in double square bracket. So we write 3 in double square bracket. Now here is a thing to watch out for. In case of vectors, matrices, and even data frames, so far we have been using the single square brackets to access its elements. But in case of list, we have to use a double square brackets to access the elements of a list. You can also use $operator followed by the name of the object. Both these methods will yield the same result. The second method is to select specific element out of the list object. I know you are getting confused, so here is an example. We want to access the second element from the character vector. The character vector ranks third in the list. So here is a deal. You start with the list name followed by the position index of character vector. Remember, we will have to use a double square bracket here. This will lead us to the vector, but we want an element inside a vector. So we will subset a vector now. And how do you subset a vector? If you remember, we'll use a single square bracket. So in single square bracket, we will call the index position of element inside a character vector. And that's it. We could be able to get out the vector element. Now if we are dealing with a list inside a list, let's say we want to access the matrix element which is sitting inside a list. And within the matrix, we want the element which is at the intersection of second row and second column. How are we going to write this out? Again, we will start with the list name followed by the position index of a list object. Since the list object ranks 5th in a list, we write 5 inside a double square bracket. Now the tricky part here. Because we are again accessing a list, we must use a double square bracket to retrieve the element concealed inside this embedded list. This matrix is the third element of a list. So we will write 3 inside a double square bracket. And once we reach to the matrix, we will use matrix subsetting rule, a row and column index position inside a square bracket. So it is 2, 2, a second row element from second column. I know it's a bit tedious to retrieve the element from an embedded list. It's kind of digging deep in search of a diamond. Let's open the RStudio and subset the list. So let me quickly prepare a list here. So this is the numeric vector, this is a character vector, logical vector, it's a matrix, and it has a data frame and a list. So here is our list. We have the vector, we have a matrix, and we have a list inside it. Now we will going to access. Before that, let me name the elements of a list here. Okay, right. So we named the element of a list. Now we will try to extract the elements from the list now. So let's start playing around with the list subsetting. Here is the fourth element of a list, which is a matrix. Again, note we have used the double square bracket here, and here is a matrix which we could able to pull out of the list. Now we are going to access the second element of a list, but in this case we are going to use a dollar symbol. Dollar symbol works in the same way as the double square bracket. Here we could able to get the second element, which is the character vector. Now we are going to access the element from a list object. So the fourth list object is a matrix. So if I only access this much, then you can see it's a matrix. Now I am going to pull out the element which is sitting at the intersection of the second row and the third column. So if I execute this entire line, then you can see that 26, which is at the intersection of second row and the third column, is accessed. The sixth list object is a list inside a list. So let me execute this. It's a list inside a list. Here is a tricky part. We are accessing the first element of a list here. So the first element of a list is a data frame, and then we are accessing the second column of the data frame. So here it is. So now we will access the second column. We should get employee ID column as an output, and here we go. Okay, great. So subsetting a list is a bit tricky, I know, but I hope that these basic examples will help you feel at ease. In the next video, we will look at rather mysterious data structures, the factors. So see you in the next video.